Folks, that's that 5 o'clock, let's do the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome to the commissioners meeting. As usual, we've got a window of opportunity. Anybody got anything that is not on the agenda? If you have any questions or comments? Again, no action to be taken, but we'll entertain them at this moment. Yes, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Good afternoon. Mike Chesser with the Scott County District Commission. Just an effort today to let you know that we have been in contact with the State Board of Accounts regarding some upcoming changes in the innkeeper's tax collection and some additional processes that they are discussing that will be changing both legislatively as well as internally through their operations or mode of operations. We have been working with Tammy and Teresa to figure this all out. Some of it will potentially require our organizational structure conversations with the commission. But I wanted to let you know that we're still gathering a lot of information, and I wanted to give you a heads up today so that when I do come in and schedule time, you're not blindsided by any information I share. I'll give you that information in advance so you have an opportunity to review and familiarize yourself with all that information. But I did want to let you know that that conversation, or these conversations have been taking place.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate that. Anybody else?
I'll interject something that usually would be. If it comes up, we're not going to discuss in any way the pending litigation involving a zoning issue in our county. That's not going to be discussed today. We're going to have no questions about it. It's not going to be raised. And I'm saying that for people in the audience that may be here only for that reason. I just want to assure them that will not be discussed. You're welcome to stay. It's a lot of fun. Expect to be here at about 7:30, so stick around. But don't feel obligated.
Yeah, you might as well. We can.
Somebody else in.
Okay. Somebody else? Somebody? Anybody? No?
Okay, I've been contacted by the Census Bureau, and of course the 2020 census will be coming up. They contacted us, Austin, Scottsburg, and basically they're wanting us to help promote to the public that this is coming up, and we can do this on our own. Scottsburg can do their own, Austin can do their own, or we can team up together as a group and come up with different ways to let the public know this is coming. And there'll be more information coming, what we can let them know. But, you know, like it might have been a good thing if I didn't have this ready for the Mayor Fest this weekend. Just some information to put out. She suggested we might want to do it through payroll or any other information that we send out to the public. Might be a little something on the paperwork there. County website, just different ways we might want to get this information out. And I can get the proper information there. And she gave me a whole bunch of information on the phone here I can get with you guys. The only thing she wanted to know was, do we want to do this as a single unit? I think Austin's doing their own. I'm not sure the benefit of us all teaming up together. But as long as they're sending it out in Austin, Scottsburg sending it out, and we send it out, that should reach most everybody.
Yeah.
So she just wants us to maybe send her a letter. I can work with you on that. To say, yeah, we will be a part of this and work with it. And, but we need the group of us to vote on it. And probably when it comes right down to it, I think it'll be you signing the signatures as the chairman. But I assume we want to be a part of this, but this is a, yeah.
And I'll say this is any way that we can reach them to, whether it's, I think maybe we put something in the local newspaper. Of course, I think social media, and also maybe the community channel, because I cannot, express how important it really is for that census to be, for us to get a good count on that. That determines a lot of things for us, and so we hope we get it out there, and we hope we get a return on that. So, yeah, whatever we need to do, we'll. But I think with this, I think the city of Austin's doing it on their own. The city of Scottsburg, I think we just take care of the county part. I think that ought to cover it probably myself. Will you?
What's it, or what are we talking about entailing? Are we just agreeing to it and they're going to issue the papers and we're mailing them out, or are we?
Yeah, I
Well,
think, yeah. We will do a mailing list for the county, correct?
I'm not really for sure what all that entails, but, because they will be mailing census forms to people, but I think they usually give us some promotional materials, they give us some cups and some odds and ends things they did the last time, and of course, it's been a decade ago. So, but they usually give us posters and things, and then, and probably at your meeting, since you're gonna be now broadcasting through social media, I think it would be good maybe every meeting or so to remind people to, when they get their census.
But technically, we're not, I mean, that's
They
a
just ask
federal
for
government.
local,
We're just
not-
helping them.
It's a federal government.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
They just
we're
need
just
a promotional
advertising.
outlet.
Yeah,
yes.
she has a bunch of info on here. If you guys would like, I will have her send it to your email. Go to the email address.
Do you want to
Okay?
send it to me and then I can
I'll
just
do
send it to
that.
them?
I'll do that, and then you can spread it out and you get a better idea. And if you don't want to time to go over 2 weeks, just,
So we're gonna ask if they're a citizen or not?
I have no idea. You can ask.
Okey dokey.
So we're okay with it then?
Yeah, yeah.
Just consistency.
We're just consensus right now.
We're just
Yeah.
advertising for it.
Anybody else? If not, we'll move into the agenda. No rockstone, nobody hollering, I'll go ahead. First up on the agenda tonight is consideration of the infectious disease grant claim. And we got an amendment to the infectious disease. Is that the same grant we got an amendment to?
Yeah, so this is the infectious disease grant that we have requested an extension, the state's given us an extension.
Mhm.
You all have executed your end of it, it's up at the state, they're getting their signatures together. So it's not fully executed yet, but it will be. I guess we'll do the amendment. This is to River Hills' contract. Last time I was here, we had a budget modification, and this is just to reflect that budget modification, which was increasing the administrative contract from $7,342 to $14,684
Okay.
for the double time. I believe you've seen it.
We've been through this already, haven't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, do I hear a motion to, I guess need to sign this, again, the fee went from $73.42 to $14,684, so it just doubled.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's out of current funds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make one.
Motion made, second. And what's
Sign
that?
this one. Thank you. And then the second item on this is just a claim from IU Health Physicians for $2,561.76 for services provided in May. And this is the request funds for this.
Okay, and that again is out of the grant.
Yeah,
And there's what, 73,000 left in that grant, is that what I'm reading?
yeah.
73,000 left. Okay, hear a motion? And this is for the admin and the public services, right?
Yeah, this is just for the public,
Okay.
for the physicians.
Second?
I'll say.
I'll make it unanimous.
I have asked IU Health to amend their subrecipient agreement they have with the county. Once they have done that, we'll get it in front of you all to approve it as well, just to, again, extend the time.
Okay.
And I wanted to also update you all on the LifeSpring facility grant, the CDBG grant. That's moving along according to schedule. We'll have a pre-bid meeting here tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And we will have the bid opening July 25th, next Thursday at 2 o'clock in this office. No action will be taken at that time, will just be under advisement.
What I just read in the paper about, yeah, that was in last year. When did this start?
We applied for it at the end of last year, but it's been going on for a little while now. But we don't have a release of funds from the state yet, we have to get the bids in, and then no contracts can be awarded until we get release of funds. So I just want to let you all know.
Do we have a time frame for that? I mean, we'll get the bids in
We'll get the
60 to
bids.
90 days?
Yeah, after the bids, we have 90 days to award a contract. So first we get the release of funds from the state, so hopefully a 1-month turnaround there, and then
Okay.
get the contract awarded. And I think their timeline is pretty quick, 3 to 6 months to have that thing complete.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, next up is a Verizon tower lease on North Gardner property, which is the John Jones property.
Hey, I'm Preston Patton. I'm the site act on this for Verizon. The attorney didn't need to be here tonight, but I do know that y'all needed some information. That's pictures of what the tower might look like. Top, bottom, sorry, I'll 3 of them. But basically, I'm just here to answer any questions y'all got. If I can't answer the question, I'll get you the answers from Verizon.
Can I make a suggestion here? Y'all haven't read this, have you?
No.
I would encourage you just to read it first, and then we'll talk about it at the next meeting. And then we've also can contact you, if you want to give us a card, and we can, instead of asking questions about something that you haven't read, I would encourage you to look at it first, and then bring it there. It's one of those things, they want to know that we will commit to doing something before they start spending money to change the zoning and to deal with the zoning issue, and also do some engineering and some survey work and spending a lot of money. So they kind of want to know that we're okay with it.
Yeah.
Right, Preston?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Typically, we like to kind of work out at least the basic language of the lease and make sure there's no deal breakers in there. And then once that's done, then we want to start due diligence services, like we want to come out and do a site design visit and kind of meet with y'all and say, hey, this is where we want to put the tower. And then we order 1A survey, that kind of stuff. We would send any of those documents that we get to you for approval to make sure everybody's on the same page. And it's a long process. You're looking at 18 months from the time we come out to visit to actually building the tower out there. And there'll be a lot of hurdles that we've got to pass before it can get done.
And that's,
But Verizon,
yeah, and that's,
Verizon does pay for all that. They handle everything when it comes to their tower. Where we were looking at, where I originally was looking at, was in the back of this parking lot here to try to meet setbacks from the property lines. I did talk to Ashley today, and she said that we might have some hurdles with the zoning setbacks, but that we would try to figure out a good way to get around them. Right now, we're looking at go ahead.
How much property are you talking about?
They'd like to get 100 by 100, so a quarter of an acre. But with this being a monopole site, which is just the one single pole coming in, instead of doing the self-support with the 3 legs, we might be able to get away with maybe a 60 by 60 or a 70 by 70. We also have gone away from using the big shelters, the big 10 by 30 shelters. Now they're looking at a 11.5 by 19.5 outdoor equipment with a little roof shed over it. That way they can get away from using big air conditioners and using all the energy for the big air conditioners, that kind of stuff that are needed to cool the equipment down in those shelters. They have also gone away from using generators on the site, so there won't be a generator out there, kicking on and running. They've now got battery backups, so that's what they use in case of an emergency. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So it's not, and the generator, when they were using generators, that was typically kick on once a month for a certain amount of time just to test it. And then if there was an emergency, where power went down, it would kick on. And now they've moved to battery. So
If we want to rent something spaced around that would affect? I mean, is there
As long
like
as it's
a
not
distance
in-
you have to?
No, sir. This tower would be designed to fall within a 50-foot radius. So as long as we're outside that 50-foot radius, that should be anything that y'all want to bring in. After that, I'm sure y'all would still have to go through the zoning process, so that would be something y'all would, not just y'all, but we would need to check to make sure y'all could do that later on down the road. There might be some, as of right now, there are no, in the zoning ordinance, there are no restrictions that it has to be a certain, distance away from an actual building. They're just distances away from property lines. So that's one of the issues that we're gonna have. Mr. Houston did tell me that y'all were thinking about maybe trying to push it back in the corner, which I get, and I agree with that, take up as little property of y'all's as possible. But then again, there are zoning setbacks that we have to address to do that. And we are willing to address them. We are willing to try to make it work best for y'all.
Okay, all right. Well, like I say, you just handed it to us before the meeting here,
Sure.
this agreement. As Bob said, give us some time.
No problem.
We'll look this over. We'll put this back on the agenda for next meeting, which is 2 weeks from tonight.
Okay, do I need to be back for that meeting?
No, I don't think so.
Well, you got a card or anything?
I don't have them on me, I'm sorry.
Give me a
I
number, I
can,
can call you.
yes, sir. It's,
Are you Matthew?
uh,
What's your name?
no, I'm Preston.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's the attorney.
Preston?
It's Preston, Preston, Patton, Patton. And my phone number is 601-260-9994. And Ms. Johnson, you've got my email and information, so.
I'll need you, but do won't be able to get over it.
Yeah, no, that's probably, y'all call me anytime, if y'all come up with a question anytime
Three in the
from now. Please, I won't answer, you can try.
He ain't gonna be able to.
But anytime through this process, when we, if we decide we want to move forward, anytime through this process, and even after it's built, if y'all got questions, I've kept that same phone number for almost 20 years now, with landowners that I've dealt with back in the past, so, I don't want to leave anybody hanging, so, but is there anything else that y'all think?
No, I don't think so. I think we need to be able to read that over. And
Sure, sure.
I'm sure we'll have some questions.
I'm sure, and I'm sure you'll have some red lines to it too. It is a standard lease, so.
Sure, yeah.
But we're willing to work with them, so.
Thank you.
Okay?
Is that, one question I will ask, not, of course, I probably read it in here.
Sure.
Is this gonna be a year-to-year lease, or is it gonna be
Yes.
like over a 10-year lease?
It's a 25-year lease, but it's broken up into 5-year increments.
Okay.
So it's a 5-year primary with 4 5-year renewals. That does leave Verizon. The Verizon actually leaves the option to be able to get out of this lease at any point. Y'all cannot. That's one of the things. They can't come in and spend that kind of money to build a tower and then be told in 5 years or whatever, hey, you can take the tower down. So that is one of the things a lot of people have an issue with in that lease, but there is a reason for it.
How tall is the tower?
Right now, we're looking at a 199-foot monopole, but when you drop below 180, the zoning restrictions as far as how far you need to be away from property lines drops significantly. So I'm going to go back and talk to the RF engineers and see if we can get away with dropping that center line of the antennas in the tower down below that 180 point to where we can push it as far as we can over to a corner or something like that. As of right now, we're with the zoning restrictions the way it is, with it being over 180 foot, we're kind of stuck in the middle unless we get a variance, which I think the city would be willing to work with us on a variance, but I think it would be easier if we could go on in there right off the bat and drop it down. So I'm gonna talk to the RF engineers about that, and next time we speak, whatever, I'll let y'all know about that.
So does, I guess I have another question.
Sure.
With our local 911 tower and stuff, I mean, would Verizon ever consider leasing a spot or?
Yes, sir, we'd have to work that out, but Ms. Johnson did bring that up to me, and I know they've done that in the past with other
911.
yeah, 911 services and that kind of stuff, so I don't think it'll be a problem. And I think they'll be willing to work with you.
Okay. So I have,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you very
All
much.
right. Hey, I appreciate y'all, it's nice meeting you. Y'all have a good rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Next up is the Plan Commission's rezoning request for 8014 East Main Street and 8024 East Main Street and 2883 South Mulberry Street in Lexington, correct?
Gosh, here, let me throw that at you again. Well, it's on. Gentlemen, this is Will McDonough. He is
Hi, Will.
with Paul Primavera and Associates. That is the firm that is handling this matter for the Maddens. All three lots that you just named off are still owned by Charles and Dorothy Madden. And Dorothy is here this evening. She's shy, so she
How ladies? We won't put you under the gun too much here. How's that?
Our recommendation is this, on rezoning. There were questions that evening, some of which actually needed to go to the Plan Commission when it considered the development plan. And the development plan was also approved by the Plan Commission that evening. Here are the plans. I also have an updated correspondence received regarding
These are within your area that you,
not
or it's just people
necessarily.
that felt like they
We
needed it?
have that new system that you allowed us to order the yard signs, and it just says, hearing soon on this property, questions, call, and then it gives the number downstairs. And we have had several generated by that. In fact, I just had one this afternoon from a lady that just wanted to know what it's about because the sign's still up. And so that, and just people curious about what's going on. I did also make a copy of the public sign-in sheet from that night.
Looks like it was unanimous except for the ones that weren't there.
Correct.
Yeah.
I also have copies of the minutes of July 10th from the Plan Commission. And if you should have any questions, you can go back to page 4 of those minutes. The conditions that are attached to the development plan approval, those are using a dark red color for the building and column breaks. Consulting with neighbors on the type of fencing they would prefer, and certifying with the Plan Commission office staff what type will be used. Lighting directed downward and or subdued so they are minimally invasive. Green space between the building and fencing / barrier. Existing sidewalks retained and all other standards observed. And those were the conditions that were attached to the development plan. You are looking at merely a rezoning where you determine if the properties are conducive to being rezoned so that the plan can go forward.
I've got dollars, you know, in fact, not too far in my backyard. I know I didn't mention it before, the problem with the lighting, they do They don't shut the lights off, but they do turn them down quite a bit at night.
There was even some talk about there were supposed to be 2 pole lights left. And Mr. Rafferty was gonna look at that and, you know, consult with the neighbors and say, if you don't want pole lights, we'll try not to use pole lights.
I think the biggest concern that night was the fence, and I know you're gonna work with them. I don't know, I drove by there again, and I'm trying to figure out the line of sight from the lady that her and her husband were talking about. You know, she wanted to be able to see. I don't know if it's the way the building's set. It may be a situation where that fence can go so far and stop, and it doesn't invade her line of sight or whatever. But I know after exhausted conversation the other night that you said you were willing to work with all of them to either put up a plastic fence, a wooden fence, or even put shrubs up that would be considered a live fence, a living fence.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that,
I went by there also, and I of course, I'm trying to put myself in her view, but basically what I saw was the back of Chuck's garage. And,
That's true, that's
I don't
not
mean
all
it
you
sounds
can
bad, but it wouldn't be, I mean, I can
Well,
improve.
she lives over on the other corner. I mean, she's not my joining
Okay.
property owner.
But she
So-
was one of
She's
the
off-
ones that was
she's off the
notified
wall
because
there.
she was within 250 feet.
Yeah, okay.
There actually is a mobile home and stuff between us.
Okay.
so we don't have a problem with the red brick or red structure.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I know that some of the community historians were there and kind of said, hey, let's try to make it look like the rest of the square. So, and I know you guys are both receptive to that, so it's off to a good foot. I know you got, if this would pass here tonight, I mean, what timeline are you talking? I know you still gotta do the permits and get all that other stuff. I mean, are we talking a year, 6 months?
I would say, I think they'd like to have the building finished soon after Christmas.
I know those go up pretty fast.
Yeah, they typically do. So I'd say by February, if not before.
Just curious, is your place gonna be all torn down, and is all that gonna go? All that's gonna go?
Yeah, her existing lot, the pool, the house, and the garage will be taken down, and then this one single building will be put back.
It's already zoned.
The
One is
remaining
zoned
area
one
will just be grass
Chuck's.
And I assume there'll be a fence and the gas station.
on the back, and there's a fence now on the gas station, so we're
Because of the
closing.
size of the
Take
building.
the existing one out now, it's kind of, an older fence, we're put up a new fence, basically.
Okay. And will it be like the one down here,
It's a
vinyl?
Yeah. They typically, I guess, weather a little better than.
So you will use all of their property?
Correct.
I know that probably doesn't make sense, but I think down here, they didn't use all the property. Part back behind Jimmy was just left bad.
Yeah.
And that, of course, that's whoever owned it. So if you guys, they live in Louisville, and they don't care, if there's grown snakes and everything else going back there. I don't want that to happen on the west.
No, this will be basically a lawn that they put back.
Okay.
What's your pleasure, John?
I'll make a motion to accept the change.
I've looked at this one awful hard, and I've had some concerns about it. And myself, I thought it was a gas station, they'd be feeding on the corner, and will I be forward then? And it appeared to me just like it's progress, and so I'll second it.
Motion made, seconded to allow the change of zoning to B2 from R1, and I'll make that unanimous. and wish you well in your endeavors there.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sure that you guys have got several around in different places, I'm sure you're gonna do a good job on that.
You hire local, don't you? Try to.
As far as people
You
who work there?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I know this is off the side, but whoever your manager is, sometimes I don't know who that is when I go to other stores. Is that gonna be something that'll be right there? Or is somebody gonna be living down in Jeffersonville or?
That I don't know the answer to. Sometimes they bring in someone, and sometimes they have someone that they can promote. but-
Well, you guys are so big, and I don't mean that to sound bad, but you're so big that sometimes I think they may forget who you're dealing with.
Yeah, sometimes.
So I think you gave me a telephone number last week, your little corporate, can I have that again, please?
Yeah, I have that actually, but,
Actually, that was your partner.
yeah, he was here to.
Maybe it was your partner.
Yeah, I gotta have it here. Do you
Yeah,
know that?
let me look it up.
Okay, I'm more of their engineer and she's kind of.
Well, you know, if I get somebody complaining, I like to know who to talk to. The gentleman last week says, call this number, no problem. I'm like, yeah. We're out in Seattle and they're gonna go who? And I don't mean that to be derogatory, but I think that's the case.
Yeah.
And I would like to have some simple way of communicating with y'all.
Now, they're out of Goodlettsville, Tennessee.
Give me that number if you are. Your card or whatever, maybe your card.
I'll give you my card.
And what exactly is your position? I mean, who are you? I know who you are, but what's your position in this organization?
So I am the engineer for Kurt Rafferty, who's going to own the building.
Okay.
And then this Dollar General is actually their tenant. They do a triple net lease, basically from Kurt himself. But now I work for Kurt now for a number of years, putting these plans together to do so.
So if I want to call somebody Dollar General, I'll need a different number.
Yeah, although you can call me, and I can get with Kurt and get over there to him. I've got some other numbers, but I can give you those that I deal with from Dollar General, but it may not be who you're actually looking for.
And I want to get off topic a little bit, just a little bit, bear with me. This has nothing to do with it all, except for I like businesses to give back to the community. You gotta do that.
They give back to them?
Yeah, like give out sponsored teams,
Our
give out
company,
stuff at Halloween and all this kind of stuff.
yeah, our company does, and we're out of court in that.
Okay. Your company, yes, I'm talking about,
Dollar General, I can't really speak on. Like I said, they're the tenant for Kurt. I work for Paulson Rivera and Associates.
so you already signed agreements with them to rent them,
Kurt Rafferty signs
to rent
agreements.
Dollar General.
Right.
We already got that signed and ready to go.
He has those agreements.
You just do that for the water park.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just like somebody, I just would love, I mean, we've got another place over there that gives back tremendously to our community, and I would like to see Dollar General do that too.
Well, we'll definitely pass that.
And it may be anything from sponsoring, if you have a Little League baseball over there, firemen over there or something.
Sure.
I haven't seen that a lot out of other Dollar Generals, so
Okay.
if it is, it's been very quiet.
Yeah, that's.
I know that's not you.
That's above my pay grade.
All right, all right, I got my point in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gentlemen,
Give me that number.
I'll hand you that.
Thank you.
So you want to go back to that card?
I don't have it, can I get your email, I can email it to you, I couldn't get it to load.
You can,
It's Verizon, isn't it?
No, it's AT&T.
I don't have much signal here either. She doesn't respond to you. I'll write her with Cage and make sure she's around for a minute.
Next up, courthouse magistrate location. Judge Mike.
Thank you.
Judge.
Hello, everyone. No, it's been a little while since we talked. I've been really very, very busy. I had a senior graduating high school, as most of you know, kept me busy, and had some travel that was scheduled. So And also, I knew that we were wanting to get the fair out of the way before we really talked about getting some things done. But we did have our magistrate start on July 1st. It's Allison Frazier. She's a former elected judge in Jefferson County. She's been doing senior judge work for us for over 2 years. So anybody who wants to see the resumes that were submitted to me, I would be happy to provide those resumes to you. But I would say that there is one resume that stands out clearly above the others. We had a lot of good local people apply who would have been good fits as well, but Allison comes in with the qualifications and the experience, and it was hard to overlook. And also, she comes in with very few conflicts, which is something that's helpful for us in this position too. So she's hit the ground running. She and I right now are sharing my office, so I would encourage you all to come up to the second floor and check us out. She won't be here. She's had other obligations the next 2 days, but she'll be here next week. I would have had her here tonight, but she's traveling. I plan on bringing her and introducing her to you guys at the next meeting. But she's got a desk in my office about 6 feet from me. She does not have a telephone. We just got her computer the other day. So, and we're sharing the courtroom, which is working for now. As I've said, we've got, there's short-term solutions, there's mid-term solutions, there's long-term solutions. A good short-term solution has been to share the office space with her and share the courtroom with her. It does create bottlenecks, and I'm waiting on her to get stuff done, she's waiting on me to get stuff done, and it's not the most efficient way to do things. We are probably starting next week going to start looking into temporary space, either in the jury room or maybe using this room from time to time for smaller hearings if we can, so that we can kind of do some things both at the same time. But it is freeing me up quite a bit to, first of all, stay ahead of my docket and get things in court more quickly, but also to deal with a lot more of the administrative things that I need to do, which would include getting these issues resolved. And I talked to Bob earlier this week. When I was last here, we were talking about finding some space in the basement. I think that, to my understanding, is still the idea.
Possibility.
A possibility. I know that the room in the basement that's about this size would make a good hearing space. And if there was some office space we could get down there, that would be great. Ideally, I think, none of these things are things I haven't said before, and I don't know, I guess I'm not asking for any decision tonight, and John, you're on my list of people to get back with. John's kind of been our liaison, so I don't know if there's a time in the next few days you could maybe come upstairs and talk to me about more details. I do think a room in the basement is a good short to midterm solution. I think it's space that the courts, if it were given to the courts, that we would always use. Ideally, I would like to have all 3 judicial officers on the 3rd floor if possible. That's kind of a long-term goal. Not without asking anybody to write a check today. The reality of the situation is, if you look around us, Clark has built a new office space. Washington just built new office space. Jackson County just built a whole $13 million judicial center. Jennings County's built new space. Jefferson County's built new space. So, space is an issue for all of us. So I'll talk to John in more detail about some of the kind of long-term ideas I have, which some are kind of blue sky, some maybe not. I know there's some talk about, without getting into too much detail again, about finding some property close to the square where some offices may relocate. One thing I had talked to John about, I talked to the sheriff about, and I talked to Veterans Affairs about, is there's that odd, and the prosecutor's office, there's that odd space upstairs behind the elevator where the 40 office, they work for the prosecutor's office, is on this side, and then Tom's on the other side of the Veterans Affairs. Tom tells me he's expanding, he needs a little more space anyway. I guess he's getting a little more help. That space is a little tight for him anyway. I know there's some logistical problems at John Jones insofar as, plumbing and wiring and these types of things. So although that may have looked like a great solution for a lot of these offices at one point, there's some expenses maybe we didn't anticipate. However, talking to Tom, he needs more space. It makes sense, I think, to everyone to have Veterans Affairs closer to the hospital, closer to the health department, closer to the VA center. And he needs more space anyway. So just something to put on the back burner is if we can find a way to relocate him. What I'd like to do, one problem we have right now is we have, as John knows, and as the sheriff knows, we have a lot of inmates who are sitting in court. It's a security issue, they're in there hearing other people's hearings, sometimes they gotta get up and move them because of confidential matters. We also have a big problem with attorneys meeting with clients. There's no space upstairs for an attorney to meet with a client. So, one idea I had was if we could find a place for those two small administrations, we could turn 40 into a holding area for inmates. So no matter what courtroom they're going to, 1, 2, or 3, the inmates could all be held in one area. We could shuttle them over one at a time instead of having them sit in the courtroom all morning. They'd be secure there. We could secure them with less manpower than we're securing them with right now. Then you could turn Tom's office into a public defender's office where there would be some space for attorneys to meet with detained defendants. So that's something I just throw out, something that I'd like to talk to you about, and I've talked to John about. So the other thing I want to do now that I have some time is I will be putting together kind of a list of talking points of things that, these things are things that we need at a minimum. These kind of like what 4-H did when they sent your list out saying these are the things we need. So I'm going to try to put kind of a punch list together to kind of keep everybody on focus so that somebody may say, oh, well, here's an idea, let's put the courts here, and then we look and say, oh, that won't work because, of this, or that might be a good idea because of that. So I want to put a page or two together for you in that respect. So, but as far as today goes, I know we're looking for answers. I know we're working on trying to find some solutions. I don't know if anybody has any questions that I can answer today, but I just kind of want to, what I'm going to try to do is come to as many of these meetings as I can. Not, maybe you need me on the agenda, maybe you don't, but I want to try to get to as many of these things as I can and just try to keep moving forward. So I know it's not going to happen overnight for sure.
But you got her up there.
She's upstairs with me right now, yeah.
Not very good.
It's not ideal, it's great, we get along great. She's sitting as close to me as I am to you all day long, so, and that's fine. But
You need-
yeah, we need space. So if she needs to talk to somebody privately, it's difficult. If I need to talk to somebody privately, it's difficult. We have people coming in and out all the time, so we need some space as well. So,
So is there not an office space that she could utilize that's not in your office?
not that I'm aware of, nothing's been offered to us.
I guess the only comment I have is that when the magistrate first came to us and said that it's, all we're gonna be out as a admin, it's turned into that I feel like Mike's zoning right now that, Mike said, don't come back and ask for more money. Well, it seems like you ask for an admin, oh, this is all it's gonna cost us, and now we're moving people around and we're gonna have to build space and.
Well, Mike, I'd be interested to listen to the tapes of every time I've come down to talk about the magistrate, because I'm pretty confident every time I've mentioned needing space, and that we would need space even if we didn't have a magistrate, we needed more space. You remember the conversation we had about Judge Jacobs, and him coming up and us saying we need more space. So I think I've always said we need more space.
Well, this space costs money, so.
It sure does, and that's why I've always brought it up. I'm sure I've got something in writing I can forward you to show you.
Well, I'm not saying you didn't say
That's
it.
what you just did say.
No, I said that it's gonna cost money.
Okay, well, listen, I'll listen to the tape, but I thought you did say that this was extra
I'm
stuff.
not arguing with you.
All right, well, probably not, I wouldn't. But anyway, so that's, what we're looking for, so.
We are, the only thing I can tell you, we are, again, looking,
I
we realize this, it is something that, as you said,
Yeah.
every other county around has had to expand, when we, even on the remodeling of the courthouse here,
Right.
25 years ago, we didn't have the numbers flowing through here that we've got today.
That's right. Yep.
So we are in the process of looking, and again, I will agree with Mike that everything does cost money.
It
So
does.
we've got to
That's for
figure
sure.
out
Yeah.
how to do this
Yeah.
in a manner that we can provide space for you and for the magistrate, and do it in a way that we can afford it too. So
Yes, absolutely.
that's what
Yeah.
we're looking for right now. So
Chief,
again, if it is a workable situation, we've not, by no means, put you on the back.
No, I know that. I know
We're just
that.
trying to figure out what is our best route right now.
No, and I know that, and I know this has been a long time coming, and I also know that, it's kind of like you see the handwriting on the wall and everybody waits to the last minute, including me. I take responsibility for that too, so.
Well, you're exactly right. It's kind of like, it's
Kinda
kind of
like
like
now
getting your driver's license. You know you're gonna get them when you get to that age, but you ain't got no car, you don't have nothing.
Right,
And that's kind of
that's
what
right,
happened.
and we understand that, we're good.
I think something important that
Yeah.
you said, which
Uh-huh.
I've been seeing this too.
Uh-huh.
If we set up downstairs, that's an if right now. I'm like you, that's not permanent.
Yeah.
I think that's just something to get us by a year or two, or however long till we can get something
Yeah.
more in order here.
And I do think that if that room is set up for a hearing room, like I said, I think it's something that we would, even if we had a fourth hearing space, it's something we'd use
Yeah.
quite a bit. You know, you could use that, if you turned that room similar to this room, if we kind of gave it back to where we could use it for public meetings, we could use it for hearing space, we could use it for
Whatever.
conference rooms, we could use it for jury room when needed, so, yeah. one of those.
So, and I'll come up, but I
Yeah.
can get with you too. Hypothetically,
Uh-huh.
if Veterans Affairs Office was
Yeah.
moved down,
Uh-huh.
and the other room,
Right, prosecutor where the 40 is, right?
yes, you'd like to turn that into basically a place where they could be a holding space for
Right.
them waiting to go to court.
Yes, right, yeah.
Let me ask you, what would we still do about, we're still not gonna have the room to get all three of you on the top floor, correct?
Well, that's, like, that doesn't happen, no, that doesn't happen overnight. We'd have to find space for the prosecutor's office at that point, so that's not anything I'm talking about doing
Okay.
on the short term. I do think some of that, those smaller administrations could probably be moved pretty easily and pretty quickly.
And that's 2 rooms now, but it's actually one.
It's- It's actually, it's connected behind the elevator, so you can, I think you'd actually turn it into 3 where you could, there's space behind the elevator that's not much bigger than these tables here, but you could have a holding cell on one half, you could have a public defender's office on the other half, and then behind the elevator, you'd have a meeting room where the public defender can meet with the inmate and the guard can watch through glass door or whatever. So,
Okay.
yeah, so, that's just thought, and it seemed to make sense, and I think it would, you know, if we get to the point where we're needing inmates in 2 different courts again, like we've had in the past, and now you need 4 or 5 people to bring 10 or 15 inmates over, I think you could reduce the manpower quite a bit, to probably 2 or 3 people to bring. So,
I
you have
hope
one.
so. Somehow, I don't believe that, but I'm not.
I think you could reduce some of it,
Oh,
for sure. I think you reduce some of it, for sure, so. All right.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for.
All right, thank you very much.
Don't throw the towel in yet.
Oh, I know
Let's
you're,
go
I know,
away.
you're doing
Let's go
good,
away.
thank you. Yep. I'm gonna get with you tomorrow. Andrew's gonna talk to me. I was at, yeah. All right.
All right, next up is the TIF plan amendment resolution, number 2019-017. What we got here?
By the way, the reason I was at that meeting was the commissioner was put on the development board. It says commissioner, but I'm on the talk about when I have the plan amended. Yes,
Yeah,
well, I was there, it's put on the development.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
it says commissioner, what you talk about? And once you think I was jumping in or something.
You want to explain this, John?
No, you do a better job, if you won't mind.
All right, that's fine.
You do a better job than I do.
The second item beyond the resolution is a county redevelopment commission timeline. Might want to refer to that document first. We have several steps in order to amend the TIF plan for the fire station, substation project for the Jennings Township Fire Department located at the corner of Boo and Water Tower. That's the proposed location. There's several steps that have been completed. You'll see done next to 3 steps. You're step number 4. So we have already prepared an amending declaratory resolution, and that's been before the redevelopment commission to allow their TIF plan, which was developed in the mid-90s, that did not include a public safety project as part of what they could do with their TIF area. It had to be amended and approved the draft by that board, and so that was done on the 3rd of July.
Okay.
Then on the 10th of July, we had to appear before the county plan commission in order for them to allow that, because that's part of the rules. And the third thing is to come to the Board of Commissioners, since you are executive to the plan commission and executive to the county, you have to approve this plan as well. So you have your own individual resolution to adopt, for us to continue on the path to add the public safety projects to our TIF plan.
It's
So-
not now, basically, we gotta do it on.
So this is coming before you, and then there are the other steps, as you can see, that are subsequent to that, because then after this, once if this gets approved tonight, then we will end up holding a hearing and making sure that there's nobody, I guess we conduct business to clear that by statute, and then the resolution would be adopted finally by the TIF board to complete this whole circle that's made, so.
Okay.
So this is a resolution that's allowing for amending the original plan to construct a building to serve as a substation and house fire trucks and fire equipment for the Jennings Township Fire Department.
This is just to allow it, it has nothing to do with the 2 acres we're gonna get.
No,
I mean, even
this
though
is not, no.
That'll be a separate vote.
That's a separate item,
Okay.
totally. So this has nothing to do with that. This is just clearing the plan
So we get the money.
so you can give the money to them for the substation and subsequently proceed with the donation of the land or lease of land, whatever your board does.
Something simple, made difficult.
It's
I'll make
minutes.
a motion to, we're ready for a motion to adopt a resolution approving them.
And I will second.
All right, motion made, and seconded to adopt this resolution to allow, and I'll make it unanimous. And I think we'll all, you have the
You'll
official
sign
one,
the original for me, please, Bob.
we'll all have to sign that.
Actually, you do, yes.
There'll be a public hearing on it, and then the redevelopment commission, by August, we'll have to adopt it finally, and then it's a go from there.
Then it would be added to our TIF plan, and then they would then come before the board of commissioners for a request for the property.
I have a proposed deed that has some, a reversionary interest that we maintain. And I'll send you all copies of that so you can see it before the next meeting. But plenty of time to do that. So you can see the way the deed reads it toward the bottom. I know you don't usually read a deed like that, but in this case, you might want to look at it and make sure that you're okay with it.
And basically, again, for people that may not be understanding what this resolution is for, is, again, the county owns property in Austin, joins Austin up on Pooh Road, adjust property, and we will be allowing them to build a satellite firehouse on 2 acres on the corner up there of Boo and Water Tower Road. And with the train situation, Austin, they've already had one truck that was struck up there by scattered, I think, lives all the way up and down through Austin, but you could shut Austin off pretty quick. And, you know, trying to get the fire department around to the other side of the tracks would be almost an impossibility. So this is something that I think for the safety of the city of Austin and for the people out on that end of the county, that it's very well needed. So that's what this is
It's
about.
also like 75 to 80% of the property that they're worried about is on that side of the
Yes.
tracks, and plus the
Yeah.
firemen don't all around that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of what this was about, so just bringing it back to snuff here. All right, that's taken care of. Let's, what about the sheriff's department update?
I gotta be short, but she told me if I didn't, she's gonna beat me up.
We got a timer on here.
Just one more thing.
We got a timer on you.
Just start off with the school resource, and I talked to Bob earlier about that. So we've got 4 vehicles, or I'm sorry, we're gonna go ahead and buy 3 vehicles. Of course, got to buy 3 guns, 3 vests, 3 tasers, those basic equipment that these folks need. So what we'll do is we're going to go on the lease program of the automobiles, where we buy 3 of them and pay like a down $33,000 a year for the next, 3 or 4
Car,
years.
basically, you get 3.
Yeah, exactly. I got that approved, you know what I'm saying, not the actual lease, but the monies from the council, they're gonna be coming to you, too, you know what I'm saying, because I don't know, listen, but you guys are already taking care of that.
Somewhat, and I'll talk to you, a simple little problem we can fix.
And if there's anything that, there's an issue or whatever, just let me know. Get fixed as soon as we can. All right. Second thing is the county council approved me to buy a body scanner for the jail. I was very pleased about that. Gave me some money to do that. So we're gonna get that done. Third thing is that we have exhausted all means that we have on our HIV medication problem. Starting August the 1st, the county will have to pick up the bill for that. We're going to be working with the health department, hopefully getting some discounts on some medications.
How much?
We spoke to DOC, that was our last hope, that they somehow was trying to see how they pay for theirs. And basically, it's part of their medical agreement they have with their medical company. So whenever we do our next contract with our medical, we need to make sure that we include the HIV epidemic as part of that, or HIV medications as part of that medical, or come up with an alternative. I do have some feelers out, trying to get some alternative stuff to fix it, but obviously, you know, it's expensive. It's about on the average, and this is not with generics, and then Michelle can speak further on that, but it's about $4,500 a person. We've got, I think, right now 12 to 13 people that are in the jail. And that's after 180 days when we have to pick up the bill on HIV, and I think we're going to have 3 or 4 beginning August the 1st. So that'd be around 9.
I
think you're down to 2. One's
Down to 2.
going to DOC.
Okay.
And by the way,
4,500 a year appeal.
No, $4,500 a month.
for anybody who doesn't know it, you have to treat those people.
Yes, yeah. So like if we have 2 now, it'd be $9,000. It'd be beginning August 1st, it'd be $9,000. But that's obviously up to the judge. You see what I'm saying?
Dozen of them, 54,000.
That's on my own.
Well,
I mean, you don't have a choice. You gotta-
No, we have to treat them because we've been treating them. So we
let
have to treat
me,
them.
let me ask you this.
You can't let them get worse.
I guess my next question to you would be, when if they're incarcerated after that 180 days, and they lose, I guess, the state insurance, correct? That's been paid.
Well, yeah, they lose the HIV medications that's been covered.
So upon their release, how quick do they pick back up on giving them that? Or is that something that, I mean, who, you just can't toss them out without no medication either, so.
Right, yeah, I don't know that. The only thing I can tell you is after 180 days, we have to pick up the tab after that.
Used to, you had to give them the medicine they were using, be that by anymore.
That's what happens. However much they have left in their bottle, whether it's 1 pill or
And they go on
29,
trips and all that.
they give them the medication when they leave.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
So that's after.
because you can't
180
legally
days.
take
Yeah, it's
that
after 180
extra
days.
medicine and give it to somebody else.
If they're released, you see what I'm saying, before that, then obviously, So, but of course, that has nothing to do, that's something.
So out of these 12 or 13, how many people are going to fall into that category?
I don't know, because it's totally strictly on the court docket, so they're everyone different.
Right now it's 2 as of August 1st. 2 people you're going to speak with.
I think there's a certain amount of money when you cut them off, they come back from,
Social Security.
yeah, I'm gonna use the word used to again, and you can make money off that. Now,
That-
whether it may
that
not,
all changed.
it may not even be close to us.
They all changed about a year ago, I think, so, because that, before, we was able to even keep their insurance while they were there, and then that changed, that stopped. So there's a lot of things that's changed.
So the
the
whole
two
theory
people-
was, we shouldn't be paying them all the benefits and giving it all to them under jail too, that was the purpose of it.
You have to do that,
Yeah.
so.
So the 2 people that are falling off, and you're saying there's 2 people that's going to fall off, but I mean,
No, 2 people that's gonna, I see what you're
they're
saying.
going to fall off to 180 days.
Yeah.
Have they been to court? They had a court date? Or are
Well,
they serving
they-
time?
These are all people that are still awaiting their final sentencing, if that makes sense. Anybody that, I can tell you
We
this,
got a new magistrate, maybe I need to chase the judge down.
I can tell you this, anybody that we have that has been sentenced to DOC is going to DOC. So that probably answers the question for you.
We need to send that bill to the court system.
Get another question.
Yeah, and we're totally dependent upon the judge, and, you know what I'm saying, he's gone now, I'm sure. I don't know if we could ask him about his here, so. But, and whatever we have to do, we'll have to do, we're here.
So these guys have been through the system, they've been found guilty or not guilty, or actually obviously guilty, and they're waiting for a sentencing.
No, not necessarily. Some of them have even
Well, I was
got
talking about the two that we're talking
Yeah,
about.
and I don't know what their status is, because like I said, the court dates change that every time they go to the court date. So the only thing that I know is that once we, and this is what we have to go by, is the reason why I say that, if we had them for 180 days, they'll pay for it. Just as soon as the 181st day comes, then we have to do it.
I don't get that somebody sits in jail 180 days for that thing goes, they've been in court or whatever. That's, if I'm sitting over there, I wanna go to court tomorrow. So, anyway. I do too, I know the answer.
So just a heads up on it, just to let you guys know, so if you have any solutions to that, let me know. Obviously, we do have to treat it, because unfortunate thing about it, and again, Michelle, I keep saying she's the expert on this, but it's kind of like the old saying, you know what I'm saying, the feral houses for hogs. You know, everybody's confined together, so if you've got somebody that's got something, there's a great propensity for to that to be passed on. So the viral loads are high, then it's.
If you ever had a fight and there's blood exchange, then you.
Sure it happens.
Just a heads up, and we'll work for whatever we're gonna do to make it happen, so we gotta do, okay? Last thing, courthouse security. What I've come up with, and as soon as you all decide how many people you wanna give me, but I think I can get this to go with 2 full-timers, and that would be to monitor the doors. We'd have to have 2 people at the doors, and the rest of the folks that we hire would be part-timers, and that would be the ones that would be bringing the prisoners over, talking about the rooms and all that kind of stuff. I haven't had a chance to sit down and talk with Jason, but actually the manpower won't reduce any, because we'll have to have, if there's 3 courtrooms, we'll have to have 3 officers in each courtroom. We'll have to have an officer that stays inside with the prisoners to monitor them in it, and then we'll have to have an officer that sits at the door. So we're looking at 5 part-timers, 2 pools, and 5 part-timers just on court days. The reason why I say part-timers, because any time that there's not court, obviously we're not going to bring a prisoner over, we wouldn't have to worry about that, those 3 courts.
I did talk to Marcia briefly, I haven't talked to Jason yet, about the possibility of making the bailiffs full-time security. In that case, I think they'd be working for the judge.
They would do, yeah, strictly for them.
But I still think we need officers back over at the courthouse. I think we need something on that, whether they take that route or not.
Yeah, and that's inside of the courtrooms.
Yes.
We still just need those 2 full-timers, and then
Yeah.
3 to 5, whatever.
Yeah.
We've got the plan, and of course, we don't want to discuss that here in open, but we've got the plan to keep it safe, and of course, whatever your all's input is, we'll use that too.
Yeah.
So, but just as soon as you give me the approval to hire these 2 full-timers, part-timers we hire on a regular basis, and we have part-timers. So just as soon as you all decide, you know, what you want to do with 2 full-timers, and just let me know, and we'll get rolling.
So we discussed this before, what was the amount of time we have to give the alliance if we want to change?
30 days.
30 days?
Yeah. That's what I.
We don't want to do that until we got our ducks in a row, I don't think.
No.
But,
So will that be, I know it's probably not gonna be a complete wash, but the money we're spending with Indiana State Police Alliance, will that buffer a lot of that
You know,
cost?
actually, I did do some research on that. Let me show you.
It's
what I
about
found.
40-some thousand, and I think 60 with here includes benefits, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, let me see
The
here.
last-
Okay. Cost of salary for courthouse security, for a 40-hour work week, this would be the full-time employees. 40 hours a week, it's 35.5 is the salary, and of course, the 25 for the insurance and all of that. So 35 and 25 is 60, around 60,000.
That's what I.
That's for 1 employee, so to take that times 2 would be about 120, and then
That's about what
comes up to, yeah. So that,
it's a wash.
yeah, pretty much. And then the only thing we would have to pick up is just the extra hours for part-timers, which that's,
I'd rather have control of those guys than no control
I would too.
right now. And really, you can tell them to leave, but
and it's something else I came up with, we talked about this the last time, is if we will hire them as jailers, then I will make them special deputies, and they'll have the enforcement powers they need while they're working in the courthouse, the police enforcement
So
powers.
any of those guys that want to come over, you could.
Yes. Yeah, I can just make them, you know what I'm saying, a special deputies. what they would do.
That would only be the guys that are part-time, I assume.
Well, the part-timers are full-time.
Full-timers,
They would be the same.
They
I'll just
can,
make them a special
if they
deputy.
want to, the department allow them.
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I can make them.
That's even better.
We can give them enforcement powers, because what, basically now, they're carrying weapons, so, and the ones that are carrying weapons are Some of those are already special deputies anyway. And I just carried it over from the last administration.
Okay.
So you just tell me when you want me to do that, and we'll do it. And I guess if you all want to set up an executive session to talk about security, we can do that too. If not, I'd like to.
We could do that, that's probably
Yeah, I
good.
think we should.
Just tell me what dates you want to do it, and then I would, again, not pushing anything, but as soon as you can get me these
Would you
two
want to
full-time
do it
people
before
hired,
the
we'll
next
get the training
meeting,
done,
or
because there is training.
different days, like do it at 4 o'clock, and then have an executive session?
Yeah, but we are.
I mean, I'm just talking here.
Executive
But
session.
have to do it two different days.
Yeah, something like that would work for me. I don't know about Mike, but
Yeah.
so if you want to send the executive session, John, got the idea of maybe doing it, have it prior to our next meeting, instead of when we meet at 5 for a regular meeting, maybe having it at 4, 3:30 or something like that. Would that work?
I'm fine with that. But, because I've never been a fan of the state police alliance, but, why don't we go ahead and make a motion for him to go ahead and hire his people, because all it is a 30-day, once he hires and gets them trained, I mean, that's, if we wait another 2 weeks, that's another 2 weeks down the road.
Because I'll have to go to the council, correct, and get,
You will have to get the appropriations, you don't have that salary.
Yeah,
already.
I know that.
I think we can just look at part, I mean, you want to, whatever you need, because it's like for part-time people, sometimes you got them,
These are
sometimes.
full-time.
Either he's gonna
Two
have
full-time.
I'm gonna guess you'll need part-time too.
oh, yeah, we'll have to have, at least, I'm saying on the days it's full, we'll have to have 5 part-timers here along with 2 full-time. There'll be 7 people in of our people here. that'll be here.
You got part-time jailers now.
Yeah, yeah, we do. That's what we hire them
Pool,
for.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a huge turnover, I assume you'll need the same people over here.
Yeah, we'll have to hire much more, which,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I just need
Make a
2
motion
full
for him
times.
to advertise and do that stuff, but then they'll have to go to the council. When's their next meeting?
It will be August the 13th, and that's the all-day budget session, so they'll be dealing with the 2020 budget. So we
What I
can do
suggest
some
to you
things.
is to go to, make a phone call.
Even if we make the motion out, he's gotta go to the council, but then
But you can still get the ball
just
rolling.
get the ball rolling, and if they don't go along with it, we're back. I'll second the motion.
All right, motion made, second, allow you to advertise for 2 full-time employees.
2 full-time jailers.
And James, and,
Yeah, I don't think you can advertise for it yet,
No,
until he gets the
Until we
money.
get the money.
But he can start the action. to
He
get
can
it.
request positions.
you can go to the council and say,
Say,
hey,
who
We got
2
approval to
positions.
do it, yeah.
Okay, that's what I'll do.
okay.
and actually,
Amend
what
mine
I'll
to
do is
read-
make
amend that to read that.
Say, hey, and then do it on consensus, I mean.
I'll make that unanimous. Okay.
And then when we have that other meeting, then we'll show you the plan we've got. If there's any suggestions that you all have, then you just tell me what you would like to do.
And these are jailers.
Yeah, they'd be jailers.
I'm like,
2 full and 5, or at least, well, part-time, we'll have to worry about it. We'll just increase that to budget next year, our
And then
part-time.
we're going to do additionals on the, add that to your salary the rest of the year.
For this year,
Yes. Yes, sir.
did you ever check to see if you got a contract with Black Diamond?
We had a contract with Pest Control, Mr. Pest.
So Black Diamond doing that?
Mr. Pest has our, we're getting ready to change at the jail. We're getting ready to go to the local fellow, Shield. Pest Control, so we're getting ready to go
Where's
over.
that at?
He's in Scott
I
County.
mean,
He's,
You're
it's
not talking about-
Jake, it's Shield Pest Control, Jake Zinder.
oh, okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Well, I'm just guessing. I think we will probably have signed a contract.
Yeah, you will. I'll send it over to you.
I'm okay with that. I was,
What I was gonna tell you is he's $30 a month. We're paying 55 and 58 now, so it's saving us about 20 bucks.
You just ran in the hallway.
It's, yeah. I know what you're saying. 'cause
I thought we might have
I'm too tough.
maybe let Tony's part of it on, who knows, over here. I mean, I want local myself. And you, last meeting we talked, you said, well, that's up to them, or not, it's up to us, but we don't have to bid that. Yeah. So we should start talking about local. What do you think?
I prefer somebody local
I do
anyway,
too.
so.
I'll let him.
There's several places there, so.
Now, if we had happened to, I know we're off topic again, I'm sorry for this, but if we happen to want to start doing the judges and all that, there's an extra fee. And we would have to run that probably through the council again, wouldn't we?
Well, I think you can still negotiate with it.
Okay,
It's a service.
yeah. No, I'm for what you're doing, I just wanna make sure we don't jump in and all of a sudden there's no money to pay for it.
Speaking of contracts, I'll get off a little bit. I know you changed, the handbook changed the way the uniform thing is done. Is there a vendor that now handles that?
Well, we've got two vendors. One's called All About Brown, which is in Indianapolis, and the other one is River City in New
Oh,
Orleans.
River City.
So what we're doing is we're telling them whenever you need a uniform, if you have a tattered, torn, replaced item, go down to River City where it's All About Brown, buy the item, they'll bill us and then we'll pay them. So,
What I was getting at was I didn't know what pest control, where if we had a vendor that
Yeah.
they were our exclusive vendor, then we would have to, you know, we got a contract with them, or they giving us a rate or what, so, okay. Answer that question.
and then on that vendor thing, just make sure don't forget about our generator over here. That's kind of went by the wayside since we didn't have the catastrophe we thought we was gonna have, so just make sure we get, because you guys was gonna get a service contract for somebody to do all of them.
I thought we had it
I
too.
thought we did that.
Who was it? Do you know who it was that you got?
The guy that kind of worked on it. Who was it?
Wayne Supply?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, so that's done.
I think that's done.
Well, we'll have to ask.
Let's double check it.
We need to ask maintenance if
Yeah.
that's done.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I
I tell
haven't
you
seen
what,
one.
let's do this right here. Again, I feel like as we got a sheriff's department update, we have a county highway update, I would like to, I think, have it on the agenda at least once a month for a building maintenance update.
Yeah.
And I just feel like we need to do that so that we have these kind of questions that we can get answers. So I would like.
Try to get the second meeting of the month, maybe.
That'd be
way
fine.
they-
I think at least once a month, I feel like we need to probably do that. And I just think it makes sense to do that.
And I do want to remind you all about that contract because I know 911 has a generator. And I think there was another generator maybe
I
somewhere.
think there was three
There were
total.
three, and I'm not so sure that really got before you all, to decide. I don't think it did. So
Well,
I will
imagine-
remind maintenance of.
I remember us talking about it because
It might
I
have
don't
been,
think we got a contract.
it might have been, I thought did we not send that to, I was thinking we did, I thought we sent that, but we had to send it to the council for funding
Actually,
because
I
we
thought-
didn't have it in the building maintenance fund.
I thought,
I was thinking.
I don't think you were here, I think Josh was here, and Josh was gonna look at it.
And you may be right.
Because that was,
You
I
may be
think,
right.
wasn't that the one that they canceled and,
Then you talked about Buckeye, and that Buckeye went out of business.
and they just said, hey, we're gonna dissolve the
And then,
contract?
yeah, they looked, I think, at Wayne, and there was another group maybe that they looked at, for that maintenance contract, but then I think they got so concentrated on the repair that was needed that they kind of, so I will check with maintenance and
Yeah,
we'll
if
get
you don't
that
care,
rolling
yeah,
again,
yeah,
okay? We'll
let's
check
make- let's
on
make
that.
sure we got something on that 2 weeks from now, please.
Because you probably want one vendor to do all
Yeah.
three, correct?
Correct.
That's on Boston.
So 2 weeks from,
Tonight.
we're gonna do the executive early.
4
Uh,
PM, 4 PM.
4 PM, yeah, I think that should be sufficient.
We're trying to make sure we stay up, that's one of the things we do is on the maintenance of everything in the building, so we're trying to make sure we got all that going on.
You know, I do believe proactive as reactive too. Makes sense. Okay. Anything else?
That's all I got, unless you got something for me.
Well, I'm gonna take the opportunity here, and I don't, people sitting, and then a lot of money spent, but folks, I'm gonna tell you, we heard the judge said here a while ago, and things have changed, and they've changed a big lot. We have a situation that not only us, it's every county. I just picked up the newspaper in Jefferson County the other day. Their jail situation is they have to build. And, I know we just built.
I hope they're slow with it, because we
Yeah.
got 10 of their prisoners.
Well,
We're keeping them right.
I tell you what, they've already come in and they're finding them so much a day until, if their numbers go above.
Jail.
The
Probably state jail.
State jail inspectors come down and, they can hold 106, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I know they sent us 10.
I was reading that in a newspaper, but anyway, it's not just us, it's everywhere. It's every county around us, and it's just the times we're living in right now. And we gotta, I hate it, but that's the times we live in.
Grand River County, Bill on twice now.
Yes. And,
Didn't we all moving it out to the hospital, aren't they?
yeah, out in that direction, I think, but, anyway, so it's not just, like I say, it's not just here, it's anywhere you go. So, thank you very much, thank you for what you do.
Always, if there's anything y'all need before the next meeting, just let me know.
Will do.
See you, sir.
County Highway,
She said she wanted to go last.
Lori, come on, Lori.
Go last.
This basically is just a letter from Derek Holmes getting permission to dig it, fissures to bury the lines just in the dirt. Won't be going under any monument or underneath roads or
Don't
anything.
have to worry about that other property then we talked about.
Okay.
This is just at Pigeon Rouge.
Mhm. I just want you guys to vote on it.
I have no problem with them laying the line out there, because it's,
I think there's so many trees knocked it down.
yeah, I think, like I said, I just have no problem with that whatsoever myself, but, yeah, I'm okay with that.
What we do on our property is what we do on ours.
I'll tell you what,
Put a pole on the other one.
you guys got the original message from Jill?
Yeah.
It said, it mentioned somebody else's property, might have.
Yeah, but it's, we're not going on their property.
I mean, that'd be between them and,
Yeah,
That's
right.
property on it.
Yeah, that, our only thing is that I would think here would be to
Well, I-
bury the line, serving the security lights at the Pigeon Rouge Historical Society. I can't speak for burying it on anybody else.
well, I'm all for that, I just wanna make sure we're
Yeah.
not worried about somebody else's property here.
So-
Who's requesting permission?
This is Derek Combs of Clark County RMC.
Okay.
And,
I'll make a motion.
motion made by Mike, I'll second,
Or you get on board, whatever.
make it unanimous. Anything else?
That's it.
That was all?
Still paving?
They're finishing up Windrift tomorrow, the other side. They did one swipe yesterday.
Paper going? Paper
Had
going?
some, had some mishaps, but we got the one side.
Sitting on Leo Road, you know, I saw Thomas Plaster and all kinds of stuff down there all over one, this side of the interstate. And there's a couple of hours long. Okay, well, it may not even been us, but they were the people.
When,
Shank
what's
it
the
out.
date, what's the date on, Block Street? And, you know, okay, I'll check. Yeah.
Sheriff, do you know?
Well, okay. I'll take a look. All right, consideration of the minutes from the June 19th and July 3rd, 2019 meetings. Everybody had a chance to look at them?
Skip something.
I did. Arbitrage Compliance Service Agreement. This is,
Baker Tilly, formerly Umball. So
Uh-huh.
that's, anytime now it's Umball, it's gonna be known as Baker Tilly. Okay.
okay.
So what happens is whenever we have the 2015 bonds for the jail edition, there's financial requirements to do a bond reporting every 5 years. And that is something that is preferably handled by a CPA firm. And Baker Tilly has reached out to us because we are due within 60 days of the date that they put there. There's some of the information that they emailed me. I subsequently asked about how much would this service cost because they just gave me their fee schedule. And based on our type of bond, they assume that it's gonna be around $4,500, which there's the jail lit money, that this is part of that fund. The council, I'm sure, will be very receptive to paying for this since it keeps us in compliance with our bonds.
So we're required to do this.
Yes.
And we can't do it ourselves.
No. So we need an agreement, and this is the service company, Umball, now known as Baker Tilly, that we always go to for these type of things. And we're always very pleased with their work.
Umball is no longer.
They merged with this firm right here, and this firm.
All right.
I'll make a motion to accept the agreement.
Motion made to accept the agreement. Second, I'll make it unanimous.
And then would you want to sign this one for me, please, Bob? Yes.
I'm not here for 2 minutes. Okay, now the consideration of the minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at them?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept them.
Motion made, second. Okay, unanimous.
And that's actually for 2 days.
Yes, the 19th and the 3rd.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next one, the media, that's scratched. I don't need to do that. So the last thing is the desk donation from CASA office. What's that, anybody know about that?
The front desk that I have here, in that little area, as you walk in, you know, we put the security door there, so we don't have the traffic, and we're gonna convert that space to another use up there. And that desk, I received a call this week, just so happened, Jerry said, asked me if she's got any extra desks, because he had received a call from Paula Kernan at CASA, and they have a desk that's in really bad repair, it's actually tearing up people's clothes when they walk by it. And she said, do you have it? And I said, well, I just so happen to have this desk. You guys want to take a look at it? It's the one up front, but it's a used desk. It doesn't match this other office equipment that I have, and it would be moved to their office on Forest. It would not be located in the courthouse. It's not for the CASA upstairs, it's for the one on Forest. And
And
it's,
she would move around it up front, right?
yes, yes.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's just be a donation.
Did we have a, and I know the last, what was, last meeting or maybe before last, that Darlene was here about the library, said they had some stuff that they would just donate to the other places too, so we want to keep that in mind. I think it just makes sense, we want some of that.
It's nice to share.
Yeah.
And
What's wrong with that, though? You don't work on it.
yeah, that's something I want to throw out to you guys too, just for a second. The big rolling cabinets that's back there, and they take up a lot of space, and it's almost more dead space than storage space with those. And I would like to have permission to rid myself of those and maybe get those moved to some other location here maybe before the next 2 or 3 months is up, because I'd like to convert some of that space to actually being able to use more office space.
Yeah, some of it you just don't even need. right?
Some of it I don't need, there's a lot of stuff that, supposed to keep purging, record retention schedule, but, there's just a lot of room those things are taking up, and they have a big track system, and they're really not safe to walk across sometimes with the shoes that us women wear, and those type of things. Yeah, the torture devices that we put on our feet.
I ain't gonna say that.
I'm not going there either.
No, I'm not gonna say
Our
that.
local maintenance people do the work.
And we probably could work
Just leave
something
that.
out to get somebody to help with us. Yes. Yes.
Can we vote on that?
On what kind of shoes they wear?
Sorry, I digress.
No, that's the one right.
You know better than I do on what you need in there.
And I figured we could store maybe at the health department. I don't know, I've talked to Michelle once about it, because they do have a lot of vital records out there that might be a good thing for them, because that would sandwich them much more than what we have need of. So I'll talk to her, if it's something they can incorporate out there, I'd be glad to donate it to her.
Do we need to vote on 2 different things here?
I don't know if we
The only
even
thing I
need to vote on.
No. But the only thing I do need to vote on is for you to donate that property to CASA, I guess. Or just give me permission to by consensus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah. Mike makes the motion, John seconds, and I'll make it unanimous. How's that?
Very good.
All right, anything on your behalf, on your part? How about you? Mr. Houston?
I do.
All right.
Two things, we're looking into what to do if we have any contractual issues with what I'm gonna call the old health department building, because the hospital has asked me to look into that. We can't locate a copy of the addendum to the 2012 agreement when we sold the hospital. So I've contacted Eisendorf, and I'm assuming they'll get back with me about that. I don't think we have a contractual issue as much as, what do y'all want to do with it?
What do you mean contractual issue?
It was part of the contract we sold the hospital to retain that property, and I don't know if there were any other conditions attached to our retaining it. As an example, if we agree to give it back if we're not using it or anything like that. I don't think so. but I'm gonna check that before we leap into making some deal.
What I'd like to make a deal with is hold it contractually with them issuing us some space for a coroner's office, or a coroner's room, and talking with Mike Everett, he said they were readdressing that again, so.
He's gone.
Yeah, so there's another.
Well, I'm okay with that, but I wanna make sure we,
I just didn't want to get nothing, I wanted to get something for nothing, and,
yeah.
you know, if we can work out a deal where we just give them that property for a 100-year lease of two rooms out there to have a more.
One other thing, I think the minutes ought to reflect that we lost a former commissioner and councilman since our last meeting, and that we, I'm not sure, you all would know better than I do, yeah, Raymond Bowley, and I think I think he is the only, I'm not even sure you all do this anymore, he's the only commissioner I think the county ever had that was actually certified by the Indiana Department of Indiana Association of Counties. Because he went through some sort of training, and I don't even know if you can do that anymore. But I think, to my knowledge, and I can only go back to about 1980, 80 or 81, we've never had another one that was certified. So Raymond, and he also served on the council, I didn't mention that, so he was involved in the county a lot.
Did he win an award too, or like, I think, or
He may have been a county commissioner of the year,
something.
something like that, but yeah,
Actually, I think he was like the board president of Indiana Association of Commissioners.
that could be right too, Michael.
Because I remember seeing his name, actually, it's
There used to be a sign.
Yeah.
But anyway, we ought to recognize in the minutes that
Yes.
we lost a good one.
Yes, it is.
And we sent flowers, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah.
I'll have to find that, because there was a place that shows past presidents, and I think he was one of the
Past president.
past presidents. Yeah, right. I remember seeing that, it's not in this book, but it was in a book that I saw.
County wants some kind of award to him, for this sign up, it might still be there, it's 2000 or 1988, or
It could
County of
be.
the Year or something.
Yeah,
There was something there.
that's all I got.
We got-
Panic? You have anything?
No, I'm good, thank you.
No? I don't think I'm good. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Let's get out of here. Thank you.